During the week, the federal government's Committee on Automotive Industry Development Plan was inaugurated with a mandate to manufacture vehicles within 10 years. This means the country is now well on the way to becoming the manufacturer of its own cars. Arise correspondent Godfrey Eshiomage has more and was at the event and filed in this report.
Here is a gathering of industry players and stakeholders drawn from the public and private sector. It's a group seeking to chart the course for Nigeria in its quest to becoming industrialized. The aim of this gathering is to activate the Nigeria Automotive Industry Development Plan, with a committee to oversee the implementation coming on the scene. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, while inaugurating the committee, says this is a call to action, with a 10-year timeline within which Nigeria should be a full-fledged vehicle manufacturing country.
Nigeria has the capacity to actually produce its own vehicles. We have the raw materials, we have the skills, we have the market, and now we have a plan that can help us to produce our vehicles. These vehicles include motorcycles, tricycles, the three-wheelers, the sedans, the trucks, heavy-duty vehicles, and you name it. With this plan, we should see Nigeria fully producing its own vehicles within 10 years. Our goal is to reduce the cost of purchasing a vehicle for the average Nigerian.
The policy proposed additional 5-year tax holiday for assemblers of vehicles in Nigeria. Through such fiscal initiative, there is a deliberate focus on backward integration and component production.
Members of the Automotive Industry Development Plan Implementation Committee are drawn from the Ministries of Finance, Transportation, Environment, as well as Industry, Trade and Investment, with the Nigeria Customs, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Standards Organization of Nigeria, and others making up the list. In another development, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment also conducted the relaunch of the National Trade Facilitation Committee, NTFC, on Thursday, with the sole objective of boosting public and private sector partnership towards achieving the goal of economic growth and development.
One of the strengths we have as a people is a strength that brings results when we choose to work together. To this effect, the need for collaboration has always been highlighted at different fora, and the notion of strife must be jettisoned.
The 42-member committee, with members drawn from both the public and private sectors, include the Nigeria Customs Service and the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NACIMA.
We are committed to working with all the stakeholders who are members of this committee. We've been working with them even ahead of this. Most of the initiatives that we have launched targeted at facilitating trade has been with all the stakeholders, and we are indeed very, very happy to work with them.
The role of the private sector is to encourage government to, if the medicine they're applying to the problem is not working, to try another way. Because at the end of the day, if the business prospers, the government makes more income from the profit. So at the end of the day, your tax collection is higher.
Among the key objectives of the now enhanced National Trade Facilitation Committee is ensuring the ease of doing business. Godfrey Eshiomage, Arise News.
Well, how can the federal government drive this dream into reality? What skills and human resources should the country be developing towards achieving and sustaining this dream? What then is the role of our educational institutions? What role can they play to support in making this possible? To answer these questions and many more, we have joining us on Newsnight the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoka-Anita. Very warm welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you very much.
All right, some people will say this as a very, very ambitious drive to revitalize Nigeria's auto industry, which blossomed in the 50s, in the 60s and 70s with Peugeot Automobile Nigeria, Volkswagen Nigeria, Steyr in Bauchi, Leland, I think in Ibadan, Anamco in Anambra. This regenerative force that the Tinubu administration is bringing to, within 10 years, start manufacturing Nigerian-made car. How feasible? What are the indices that your ministry or the government is put in place?
Thank you so much. You're actually very correct about your analysis that in the 60s and the 70s, the Nigerian auto industry saw a major boom. And that was actually due to the support of the government. If you recall, Nigerian government actually owned about 70% in the 6 auto assembly plants that you already highlighted. But in 1986, due to the structural adjustment program, Nigeria had to privatize most of its assets. And that was when the decline in the auto industry started. We realized this as a government. Government is a continuity. And in 2014, the auto industry plan was launched. And since then, due to some challenges, it's not really taken off. And the second plan was launched again in 2023 under the last administration. My predecessor launched that. And we came in, picked it up, and realized that it actually was a really good plan. And what was then left was to implement it. And that's the implementation committee that we actually launched on Wednesday. Now, what have we put in place? A lot. I mean, we've seen a lot happen since 2014. The industry players have been primed. The stakeholders have been primed. There's a lot of interest in Nigeria. Why is there so much interest? I will explain. Currently, the GDP contribution of the auto industry to Nigeria is 0.04%. And the potential of this industry is 25% of GDP. Currently employs about 10,000, less than 5,000 workers in this industry, with a potential of hiring up to 300,000. It has so much to give and so much we can do. Last year, in 2021, we spent $6.1 billion importing used cars. 3% of our total auto import was new cars. Between 2018 and 2019, we had spent 1 trillion naira to import used vehicles. That's approximately $2.6 billion. Given the current situation we have in Nigeria, we know it's not sustainable. Most of our imports, 97%, like I said earlier, is used cars. And why do we import this? Because it's cheaper. Because we feel that there's some durability in the auto brands that we're importing, mostly comprising Honda and Toyota. But if we can actually build these products in Nigeria, the market is there and we can pick it up. And so the plan actually outlines the steps that we will take that within 10 years, Nigeria can fully build its own vehicles. So you start by looking at what facilities do we have to actually support the production of vehicles in Nigeria. You look at the raw materials, is it available? Absolutely available. We have steel. We have iron ore producers. Now we're mining iron ore. I mean, I visited the African steel industry on Tuesday, and we saw what they had done in producing iron ore directly from mining. We have steel makers who are ready to support this industry. Component part manufacturers. I know the auto industry is so interesting because it actually can regenerate or catalyze this economy in so many ways. This industry is one industry where you use steel, aluminum, plastics, electronics, name it, glass. So it's one industry that, when fully enhanced, can actually lead to the generation and the catalyzation of other feeder industries. So the value chain for this is very big, from farming to livestock. Livestock is for leather, for chairs, you know. Farming, the same. So there's so much potential in this industry, and it's one major industry that we're focusing on, that we know that if we get it right, we can see the industrial revitalization plan of His Excellency coming into play. So we've gone around visiting all the component part manufacturer. The MD of the Nigeria Automotive Design and Development Commission has done a lot of work in this regard. And he's come back and said, Nigeria is ready. I've also done a visit to a couple of assembly plants, talked to a number of manufacturers, even the African Association of Automotive Manufacturers, that's comprising the Volkswagen, the Mercedes, Toyota, and you name it. They have actually indicated significant interest. The Chinese automakers, the same. They are ready to build here in Nigeria because everybody's been constrained by the availability of FX. And we know that if we build here, FX import substitution takes over, and you don't really have to build your vehicles by importing. So the company manufacturers are ready, and we've identified all the challenges, and we are set to roll it out. One of the key challenges is availability of infrastructure. So we are going to build an industrial park where we put all the company manufacturers in a place where we provide them with facility for electricity, water, and even availability of the raw materials that they need, road, infrastructure, transport and logistics. So that takes away most of the burden. Then other incentives to the manufacturers, like you already heard, giving them, we have the pioneer tax incentive that we can provide to them, and other tax measures. There are lots of fiscal policies that government is willing now at this point to put forward. Then we talk about financing. Now, financing to the auto industry. Currently, we know that the Bank of Industry and a couple of DFIs are willing to provide single-digit interest rates to the auto manufacturers, provided we can actually demonstrate that they are truly ready to have their integration, their manufacturing fully in Nigeria. In the auto development implementation plan, we highlighted that within 10 years, we should see 40% of local content in auto manufacturing. But I think that's being modest. I think we can actually do much more than that. If we can provide, if we can produce the engine block with our steel and aluminum, and we can produce the component part, then that's actually more than 40%. So I think we're ready. Then the consumers, on the consumer side, the president is also about to launch the consumer credit scheme, which actually provides the cheap financing for consumers to buy cars at affordable prices that will change the landscape completely. So we see that this sector is set to revitalize the economy, and we're also set to make that happen. Thank you.
All right, that's a very holistic submission from you, Honorable Minister. But one was wondering the kind of incentives, that you want to give these new businesses coming to set up their plants here. Hope first, is it going to be like the usual, even though you've talked that within 10 years, Nigeria should be able to achieve 40% local content, because that is key in generating employment, amongst the teeming population. But is it going to be a situation of the 60s and 70s when CKDs, completely knocked down parts, were brought in by the manufacturers of this assembly plant? Is that what we're going to see? That's one question. And secondly, very quickly, the kind of incentives you're going to give the new players, why are you not extending it to a local producer in Nnewi, Innocent?
Okay, so the first question is it going to be the same as what we saw in the 60s and 70s, where we had CKDs? Yes, we're going to see some CKDs coming. We do not have the capability to produce everything, at least in the short run. But in the long run, yes, maybe we can. I mean, it's all still subject to when we start. Will it be like 60s and 70s? No. In 60s and 70s, like I said earlier, government had a 70% stake in most of those assembly plants. But here we're seeing a full private sector-driven initiative. So, the private sector, they are the ones who put in their capital at risk, and they're ready to take on the market forces and make this work. Now, why we didn't say we're not giving to Innocent. We're saying all auto industry, all auto manufacturers, from farmers to leather manufacturers to producers and even marketers. So it's a full value chain. And Innocent is a Nigerian auto manufacturer, and we will give him all the support, as well as, to be honest with you, I mean, when these guys begin to produce the foreign brands, they become Nigerian companies as well. So all Nigerian companies who produce vehicles in Nigeria will have access to these incentives. So as soon as we roll out, if we're actually rolled out the plan and we're starting implementation, and you are going to see all of this implementation coming. Honestly, Innocent has been benefiting from some of the grants and the loans that the government have been making available. And they've been getting a lot of support as well. And we will continue to do much more. And then to the Nnewi manufacturers, actually we're setting up our industrial hub in Nnewi, where we are going to aggregate them and give them access to this infrastructure, access to low-cost financing, and everything necessary to make sure that component manufacturing comes to stay in Nigeria. So I think I've answered all that question. So in a nutshell, Nigeria is set.
Okay, Nigeria is set, but some key stakeholders may, not be so enthused, maybe because of certain minuses they've seen. I'll still go back to the 70s and maybe early 80s when you have, for example, supportive components like metal box Toyo glass, where, they can make byproducts even for the vehicle assembly plants, the Ugele glass industry, and a couple of others, strewn all over the place. They're all shut down now. Then, where's the place of PRODA, for example, the government agency, project development agency? Where's the place of NASENI, National Agency for Science and Infrastructural Development also? Are they part of this 22 member committee?
So yeah, so the Ministry of Science and Technology is part of the committee, and everybody is actually a part of this committee. And again, remember, when committees are formed, there's always room to co-opt more members as you go along. And the Institute of Project Management is also a member of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, so they're also part of the committee. And the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is actually a huge ministry with a lot of agencies that regulate and contribute to the quality and standards of designs and production. So this government, from day one, the president gave us his vision. It has to be a collaborative government, and we must also ensure consistency and continuity of policies. So we are going to see every actor working hand in hand to make sure that this policy and this plan and its implementation goes hitch-free. So we're very optimistic that we're ready.
Okay, let's quickly take you away from car assembly and the incentives in another 10 years to make Nigeria a car manufacturing country. Let's look at the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area. I say this particularly with our non-export, potentials. For example, yams, cashews, and other, perishable crops and the rest. Nigeria is not taking good advantage of its vastness, of its agricultural potentials to export to other countries and the rest, despite the huge benefits in this industry. What is your ministry doing to drive this non-oil sector?
Okay, so let me just correct you on the last thing you said before you asked the question. This is not just about cars. The auto industry plan is not just about cars, it's about vehicles. So we are going to be talking about bicycles, motorcycles, tricycles, or three-wheelers, sedans, trucks, and heavy-duty. So it's actually the entire component of vehicles that we're looking at. Now, to your question about the after and what are we doing to take advantage of the after. After is a huge opportunity for Nigeria, and this is part of what we're doing to take advantage of the huge market. It's a market with a potential of $3.1 trillion, with 1.2 billion people as participants in this market. So it's a huge opportunity for Nigeria. Now, those who are actually going to benefit from after are those who are low-cost producers and who are major exporters. So everything that we've been doing is to drive down costs. That's why you're seeing a huge emphasis on infrastructure development. The president and the FEC actually approved the Nigeria Infrastructure Development Plan on Monday during the FEC. Two, you see this layout and the plan that I just described in terms of making sure we have industrial clusters where we can provide the facilities and drop down the cost of production, and also work on logistics. Under the infrastructure development plan, you have us building roads, building rail, and this would happen very quickly. Now, we are actually taking advantage of AFTA. AFTA hasn't fully kicked off. We're still fine-tuning it. And Nigeria is going to start the guided trade initiative very soon with a few countries to just test out to see how it works. And I think the National Action Office for the AFTA under my own ministry is doing a whole lot. The Export Promotion Council, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, is also doing a whole lot. You saw us launch the WTO assisted initiatives. And under that, you saw the Standard Trade Development Facility, the STDF. That's actually helping us to de-risk and also to improve the quality of some of the exports, agro exports that we're seeing. Because one of the issues that we have with rejects is the quality of the products, the farm produce that we actually export. Either it's too high in herbicides or pesticides or chemicals that are used in fumigation, or even have pest infestation. So that's helping us to improve the quality of our exports, to grow our non-oil export. And we're also starting with the establishment of export processing centers in different parts of the country, where we actually see and help to the exporters to improve on the standard of their quality of the standard and quality of the export produce, improve the export processing time and the logistics time that it takes for them to take their produce out. So all of this we are already working on within the ministry, and this is going to see a huge boost and an improvement in the non-oil exports of the country.
Fantastic, brilliant. That's what exporters and even farmers would be saying. And I'm sure your ministry, the portfolio is so huge, industry, trade and investment, must be collaborating with the Ministry of Agriculture, particularly when you talk of smallholders, farmers who, in their millions can produce X, Y, Z commodities for the export market. What kind of collaborative efforts do you have with the Ministry of Agriculture and, of course, with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, as well as the Nigerian Imports and Nigerian Exports and Import Bank, NEXIM? Tell us.
Okay, so I think over time, the Ministry of Agric and the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, through agencies, and have been working hand in hand. I mean, there's a department in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment called the Commodity Export Department, the CED. And they're in charge of developing standards, policies, quality for agric farmers to actually pick up to farm. And when we develop these standards, we work hand in hand with Ministry of Agric, who's also developing and improving on the seeds, the quality, training, the extension workers, and the farmers. So there's a huge collaborative effort going on there. Same with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. The Export Promotion Council is a parastatal in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. And all the support that we get from development agencies like the World Trade Organization, actually, and the ITI, and the ITC, sorry, the International Trade Center, and also JICA, the Japan Investment International Cooperation Agency, JICA. So all of these DFIs give support to improve export, which is actually passed through capacity development and capacity building to the holder farmers, either the smallholder farmers or to larger farming settlements and communities. So we're going to see more collaboration between this ministry and the Ministry of Agric. And I think you asked the question about the collaboration, between NEPC. So like I said, NEPC is part of the ministry, and that collaboration is going to keep on happening. Now, the other agency that we are also bringing up to help to de-risk the value chain for agric and other commodity sector is the Nigerian Commodity Exchange. Now, what that happens when the commodity exchange is fully ready and fully up to speed, You see, the role of the commodity exchange is to guarantee uptake. And so when you can guarantee uptake of farmers, it means that the farmers actually have money. Like it's a guarantee actually means it's financing. So they have financing upfront to farm and to produce because they know somebody is going to buy it off from them. And they also guarantee to the producers and the manufacturers, those who are processing, the agro-processors, that there is produce coming in. Now, once we can de-risk the entire value chain for either agri or solid minerals and the mining sector, you will see a lot of more investments going in. So that's what de-risking means. And we're also working with NICEL on some of the guarantee schemes for the micro, small, and smallholder farmers. So the ministry is doing a whole lot to ensure that a lot more investment come into any sector of the economy, and making sure also taking into consideration what the private sector or the investors actually want. Investors don't want to come in and begin to do the work for you all over. They want to come into a plan that is ready so that they can just take a chunk of the pie and they're happy with that. So when we really de-risk and develop this whole sector, the whole linkage, you're going to see more investment. Already we have a lot of interest. I mean, all the visits of Mr. President that I traveled with him were all very interested in the commodity sector. Either it's in farming or in solid mineral, or it is in the refining, the value addition of these raw commodities. So there's a lot of investors working in the wings for us to come up to launch our programs, and then you see them coming in. So the collaboration is happening, and we're working assiduously as fast as we can to see these investments happen, to see the economy grow, to see the non-oil exports of the economy grow, because we know that this is very crucial to the survival of the country. And we are not sleeping. And you can see already a lot of it is happening, and we are giving all the support that we can to the exporters.
Yes, very crucial indeed. I mean, the DFI, the direct foreign investments, and the plans that the government has on ground. But how can the Bank of Industry, for example, help, accelerate some of these goals?
Well, the Bank of Industry is a development finance institution, a wholly owned Nigerian development finance institution, and top performing one as well. I mean, if you look at their total assets, it's over 2 trillion, so they're doing quite well. And that whole money actually goes into supporting the industries, key sectors of the economy, under the priority sector of the current administration. Their mandate is very clear. Give cheap funding and financing to support the industrialization of the economy. And that's what they've been doing. And we are also very grateful to Mr. President for giving us 200 billion to even support, to add to the portfolio of the Bank of Industry to support key industries as well, and the MSMEs. So their role is very simple and basic. Support more and do more to increase the financing and market access for manufacturers, for business people, for industries, and basically they are doing that. So the MD of Bank of Industry, since its resumption, has been going on a lot of road shows, international road shows, to increase the capital of the bank, to make us much more competitive, attract more concessionary loans. The Bank of Industry raised some Euro bonds a couple of years ago. And so we're looking to do much more. We're looking to attract concessionary loans, funding from development partners, and all of these funds will be made available to the sectors. Now, this is a very expansionary government, actually. So we are looking to revamp the industry as quickly as possible, and financing is one of those factors of production that is actually slowing down industries. And so if we can de-risk that as well, then you can see industries boom.
Yes, indeed. I mean, you got your portfolio well spelled out for you, and I will tell you, you've dissected the issues therein very copiously. Doris Uzoka-Anita, the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, thanks so very warmly for joining us on News Now.